Welcome to my channel where OP tells a nosy HOA to shove it. Our next post is from a user. For 20 years, my little cabin in the woods was my refuge. It wasn't much, just 2 bedrooms, an old stone fireplace, and creaky floorboards that sang when the wind blew, but it was mine. My father built it with his own hands in the 70s, and when he passed, it became my inheritance and my sanctuary. I watched the seasons change from that front porch. I grieved my mother there. I rebuilt my life after a divorce within those timber walls. That land held more than trees and rocks. It held memories, history, and peace. Then came the HOA. They weren't there when my father first drove the old pickup down the unpaved path and broke ground. They weren't there when I fixed frozen pipes at midnight or cleared snow with my bare hands. But a few years ago, someone built a luxury subdivision on the land adjacent to mine. Gated homes, manicured lawns, and a homeowners association full of people who didn't know me, but didn't like me either. At first it was letters, polite but firm. Your woodpile is an eyesore. Your cabin doesn't meet architectural standards. You're devaluing our neighborhood. I told them politely that I wasn't in their neighborhood. That my land predated theirs by decades. That my title was clean and separate. They didn't care. Then came the threats. Lawyers, fines, warnings of eviction. They claimed I had no right to be there, that I was trespassing on community land. I didn't panic. I went to the county, pulled records, surveyed deeds, contacted the state level if necessary. And that's when I discovered something they hadn't. The only water line supplying their entire subdivision runs across my land. The only paved road into their gated community crosses the edge of my property, land my father never sold, just allowed access to out of neighborly goodwill. I control their water, control their access. So I sent them a letter. Not angry, just honest. I told them they were welcome to continue using my land for now. Now, when I sit on my porch and watch the wind move through the pines, I do it with peace and a quiet kind of justice. Not revenge, just respect, not demanded. My cabin still creaks in the cold. The woodpile is still messy. But it stands, proud and rooted like me. Yeah, Ope, you got 'em good. Well, you already had them because you owned the water supply and the road. But then you sent them that letter, and they backed off. I would have just been honest with them from the start. When they sent you the first letter about your woodpile being an eyesore, you could have just called them up and asked what the frickin' problem was. And then you could have laid down the law and said, listen here, buddy, this piece of crap cabin has been here since before you were even born. And I have every legal right to do whatever the hell I want with it. So you can take your complaints and shove them up your ass. But you know, this way worked out better for you, so good job on that. Our next Reddit post is from another user. My grandfather built a house in the early 60s. In those days, it was common to keep a couple of acres around the house, so people had space for things like vegetable gardens and maybe some animals. The city council thought that this new development looked unsightly from the road and refused to allow any more houses to be built unless each house was set back at least 100 feet from the road. My grandfather said fine. He subdivided his lot into 4 equally sized pieces and kept building houses until he had 5, keeping the original house and selling the other 4. Fast forward 50 years and the city is trying to condemn one of the houses that he sold because it is too close to the road. The house was built by the same builder that my grandfather hired, and the plans were approved by the city at the time. The city wants to take the house because it is too close to the road and dangerous for the residents. I think that if the city wanted to get rid of this house, they would have done it years ago. This seems like sour grapes to me. Maybe the city didn't like how the house looked because it was older. Who knows? But I don't think it's okay for them to take somebody's house just because they don't like it. Well, this sounds like a situation where someone should consult with a real estate lawyer. There are definitely laws against eminent domain abuse. However, a real estate lawyer isn't cheap. So perhaps this would be a case where it might be worthwhile to start a GoFundMe. Yeah, as far as taking someone's house just because they don't like it, this sounds pretty messed up. Our next Reddit post is from another user. I live in a rural part of the country, and we have this rule in our area that states that any permanent structure must be at least 100 feet away from the road. We are also not allowed to have junk outside of our home that may be considered unsightly or hazardous. For example, you can't have rusty old cars or piles of tires or anything like that. All of these rules are in place to protect the aesthetic quality of our community. Recently, a large trucking company decided to move into town. They built a warehouse facility right by the road and parked 30 to 40 trucks right in front of it. These trucks are dirty and covered in graffiti. They're also stored less than 50 feet from the road instead of 100 feet. I complained to the zoning commission and they did nothing. Last week, the local newspaper published an article about this company and how they bring jobs to the area. This company is owned by a family member of the mayor. Can you guess what happened next? I shouldn't be surprised, but I am. Well, I hate to break it to you, but if the mayor's family member owns a business and the mayor supports that business, I don't know what world you're living in, but I gotta say, it's not normal. Most mayors aren't going to screw over their family members to appease random people in their town. So I wouldn't be surprised if the mayor's family member broke the law. Our next Reddit post is from another user. We moved to a new home last year. It's a new build. And recently a neighbor mentioned to us that she had talked to the city about putting up a fence. She said they told her that she needed our permission. So we checked the paperwork, and according to the covenants, we do indeed need to give permission. But then I started checking other stuff, and it turns out our covenants superseding the city ordinances in many areas. For example, the city allows fences to be 6 feet high, but our covenant limits them to 4 feet. The city allows signs to advertise upcoming garage sales. Our covenants ban them entirely. The city requires setbacks of 20 feet from the road. Our covenants require 30 feet. And then there's the issue of pets. The city has regulations that limit the number of pets per household. Our covenants limit us to 2, except we currently have 3. But the most interesting thing I found is that our covenants give us the right to use our driveway as an easement for emergency vehicles. The neighbor asked if we would sign the easement, and I told her I'd rather not. She pressed me, saying that her kids would love a play set and a swing set, and that she knew a guy who could make her a great deal on a nice shed. I told her that was nice, but I wasn't signing the easement. She tried to bargain with me. How about I put the swing set up 25 feet from the road, and I'll plant a tree row between us to block your view, and and get the shed. How about that? I told her I appreciated the offer, but I wasn't going to sign the easement. She left, and I haven't seen her since. The next day, I saw her mowing her lawn. Her son was pushing a swing set, while her daughter pushed a lawnmower. They both waved to me. I waved back. About 10 minutes later, I heard sirens. The police car went past my house and turned down her street. I saw her come out to see what was going on. A couple of minutes later, they came back and went past my house again. I saw her looking out the window. I'm guessing she learned a valuable lesson about easements. That was Am I the Asshole? And our cake today is called House Arrest. It's very fitting for this episode. I really like this one. The frosting goes all the way up the sides and it says House Arrest in big bold letters. And I mean, look at these layers. Is that beautiful or what? Beautiful. Well, I've been your host. Please don't forget to tip your waitresses. I'll see you next time.